astrology doesn't work, so stars have no impact on my life. It is impossible to predict the future. That is like saying, and I'm not an NBA guy, so that is like saying Ben Wallace, Andre Drummond, DeAndre Jordan, Will Chamberlain can't shoot free throws, so basketballs don't work. These guys are the worst free throw shooters, so that's proof that physics doesn't work. Is what that's like saying. That's like saying, my grandma keeps getting into car accidents, so cars don't work. That's like, you get the picture, right? Just because astrology and astrologers are wrong about your future and the way, about everything, doesn't mean the stars that they claim to be based off of don't have any impact on your life. I'm going to explain to you what impact they have and why this has been millennia-old pursuit of the ancients, from the Egyptians to the Mayans, the Chinese, the Koreans, the Hindu. Every ancient civilization has been fixated forever on the stars until just recently, literally until recently. And maybe it's because until recently you could actually see the stars every single night, and they were the only things you could see at night. And when something happened to you during the day, and you just kind of backed up and laid down on that grassy knoll looking up at the stars because there was no TV, there's no movies, there's no Netflix. The only thing you could see moving at night were the stars. Literally. So after a long, hard day's work, you just, hey, you want to watch the stars? Yeah. What channel is that? How about Star Channel 1? Okay, what about Star Channel 2? You just lay there and just watch the stars. It's all human beings did forever up until the last, 50, 60 years, maybe even 30, 40 years. So the old humanity, the humanity that's been humanity, we're the weird humanity. We're the group of humanity that's just really ostracized from all of nature, wearing rubber shoes, never touching the earth, never looking up at the stars, absolutely divorced from the universe. So we're the odd ones out. Even though that's been 100% of your experience is only 1 millionth of the human experience. So your experience is tiny and very exceptional. Exceptional, not in a good way, exceptional in a random case way. So let me explain to you what most of our ancestors, even our DNA, is programmed to do. Our DNA is programmed to notice patterns. And when you had a good day, you'd look up at the stars and say, oh, look, there's Orion. Just as soon as the sun sets, there's Orion just starting to rise from the east. Huh. Orion must be a good luck star. It's congratulating me on all the money I made today. A couple weeks goes by, you make more money, and exactly the same thing happens. Orion starts rising from the east. Now, I know, you guys that know astronomy, hold on a second, just hold that thought for a second. I know what you're thinking, just hold on to that thought. Orion starts rising from the east. Again, because something else could happen. And then you think, see? Maybe Orion really, I was just kidding the first time, but maybe Orion rising from the east really is my good luck star. A couple years goes by, something good happens, and you think, hey, I wonder if Orion is going to rise directly from the east like it did the last 2 times throughout the last 10 years of my life when I made a ton of money. And sure enough, you lay back down, you put your hands up on behind your neck, you cradle your head, and you look up at the stars, and bam, Orion shoots up from the east. And you think, confirmed. These are patterns. And even today, scientists logic people, philosophers, one of the main things they argue is causation versus correlation. To address what astronomers already know, if you see Orion rising from the east right around 8 p.m. every night, it's generally going to rise right around 8 p.m. every night anyways. It is. However, this is not the kind of astronomy that most actual metaphysicists, actual 200 IQ people did back then. You didn't think that 200 IQ people were just things that were invented since Elon Musk was born, did you? There were 200 IQ people way back then, forever, maybe even 300 IQ people. And if they didn't have a telescope, they had other means of figuring things out. If they didn't have a radiometer, if they didn't have a oscilloscope, they had other ways to get the same kind of data. They were very ingenuitive. And you might think, okay, all this is fine, but I still don't believe in astrology. I still don't believe the stars have anything to do with my life. I still don't believe that. So I want to get this out of the way for those of you who don't want to get deeper into the subject. Let's just get this objection, this mental block, shattered. Let's just pulverize this mental block. I don't think stars have any influence on my life. I can go through my entire life without ever being influenced by stars. I mean, that's ridiculous. Most of them are dead anyway. They're billions of years away, trillions of years away. Light speed, science has proven that, and they have no impact on me whatsoever. Let's shatter that concept. So you don't think stars have any impact on your life? Have had any impact on shaping who you are? Shaping your neurology, not even your DNA. Your attitudes, your tendencies, your physical body, your mind, the way your mind works. The feelings that you tend to gravitate towards. Some people, whenever they're confronted with the unknown, they get excited. Other people, whenever they're confronted with the unknown, they get fearful. Other people, when they get confronted with the unknown, they get frustrated and angry. Everyone has different responses to the exact same types of stimulus, exact same types of events. And you don't think the stars have had any impact on you whatsoever? They're irrelevant in the entire universe? What is there besides stars? Nothing. So you're saying that nothing has had any influence on you. Nothing has had any influence on your DNA, the moment you were formed, on your hell, the Starbucks coffee that you drink this morning has an influence on how you think, how you behave. The virus that entered into your body has an impact on your behavior, the way you think, the way you feel. Scientists have even proven that when you catch a cold, when you get a virus, the first thing you want to do is go to a populated place, like take public transportation or go to a club or go to a bar and sneeze and cough. It's totally true. Look it up. Look it up. It's in PubMed, and there's multiple different research articles on it. When you're healthy, you might want to stay at home. But the moment you catch a virus, you're itching to go out and spread that virus. Why? Because the virus actually has a vector too. The virus itself has a replication impulse. It wants to replicate, so it somehow influences your neurology to help it replicate. Is that weird? You know this. You know the saying: when your head wants one thing and your body wants another, something else. That's what happens. There's all sorts of different impulses, and desires. vectors of energy that are always conflicting in your being. And while all this is happening, you think the stars have nothing to do with your life, have had no influence on you whatsoever, in spite of the fact that besides stars, there is nothing else. What I'm saying is that the only thing that exists in the universe are stars. Asteroids, pieces of dead stars. The moon, a chunk of a dead star. A cooled off, non-burning, extinguished coal lump of a dead star. Everything is just stars, and you're saying that stars have no impact on you. That's kind of like saying the sun has no influence on me. Well, go stand out in the sun or lay out in the sun for 2 hours on the beach naked and see how little influence the sun has on you. Now, if you want to take this conversation a little further, a lot of you guys are going to say, okay, yeah, but the sun's so close and so powerful. The sun has an influence on me, but I mean, the sun and the moon, they don't really influence you spiritually. They don't influence you emotionally. They don't influence you mentally, psychologically. Well, they influence you through heat and cold. If during the summer I'm hot, so I want to go out and go do some surfing or running around the beach. And during the winter, it's cold, so I just want to stay home and drink some whiskey and maybe some hot chocolate, cocoa. It's just about heat. It's just about temperature. Is what some of you might say. I'm only going to take this argument and this tit-tat thing this far because it just goes on forever. All these extremely close-minded people that will come up with any excuse to say that stars have had no impact on their lives, in spite of the fact that it's just much simpler to say, hey, stars are the only things that existed before me, so when I began to exist, their radiation and their influence, their timbre, their note, their frequencies, must have had some impact on molding me, shaping me. It's just easier to say that because that's the obvious thing. That's the common sense thing. But like Mark Twain said, common sense ain't all that common. So the last objection, if you think the sun and the moon doesn't have any impact on you, that it's just cold and heat that has impact on you. During the middle of the summer, when it's really hot, just go into a meat packing room, into the walk-in freezer, and sit there for a couple hours. You're gonna feel the same as when you feel in the winter. Are you gonna want to go to a ski lodge and drink Irish coffee? During the winter, go into a really hot room. Go into a really hot room, heat it up. Are you gonna feel like going surfing in the winter just because your body's warm? Just proved that right away, didn't I? The sun has an impact on you in more ways than we understand. And it's not just the heat coming from the sun, it's the light. It's the orange light. And I'm sorry, I keep clearing my throat because of the Chinese coal factories that are right across the peninsula from here. Air impacts me. If this tiny little sheet around the earth called oxygen, the atmosphere, impacts and has an influence on you, you don't think the stars that have been radiating with a power of multi-trillions of nuclear explosions per star. You can take Hiroshima and Nagasaki, multiply it by 1 trillion nuclear bombs, and it's just this much power that a star emits. And you don't think that star radiates anything? There's literally nothing between that star and you. It's just empty void. That radiation doesn't get filtered through some sound insulation. Doesn't get filtered through water where some part of the spectrum gets refracted away or reflected away. That that ray, that cosmic energy, that whether it's a wave or it's a particle or whatever it is, it hits you directly. And the only thing standing in between that and you is really the atmosphere. That's it. Besides that, it hits you directly. Let me say that again. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and all the nuclear bombs on this entire planet, you explode them all at once, you multiply that by 1 trillion, and that's how much radiation and nuclear power, atomic rays and particles and waves and frequencies are emitted by just one nice star. And it hits you directly. And you don't think that has had any impact on who you are, how you think, what you feel, what you want, your skills, your weaknesses. You don't think they had any influence on your parents and who your parents chose as reproductive mates? Okay. If you don't think it has any impact on you, then I really can't help you. Now, let's talk about and then another potential what's it called, ratio point or counter argument. You might say, yeah, I agree. These stars would have a lot of impact on me if I was really close to one. But we're trillions. We're getting 1/1 trillionth the energy of that star because we're so far away. Well, first of all, if you're any closer, you would just burn up. So, point is moot. Second point, sure, we're only getting 1/1 trillionth the cosmic radiation from that one star, but there are trillions of stars. So, in the end, we're actually getting a shit ton of radiation from the stars. Okay, so now I've explained to you and logically unrolled the fact that, yeah, maybe our DNA, even our neurons, which happen to somehow magically look like nebulas and cosmic formations, ironically, maybe they were influenced by the cosmos and nebula formations. Hold on. Okay, so now that we've got the groundwork out of the way, fact, stars influence us. Okay? It's really hard to counter-argue that. Let's just call it a fact. It's a theory, but it's not a theory. The sun's a star, and the sun influences me. So it's a fact, okay? Stars influence me. Now, based on that fact, the bigger question is, how does it influence me? And if a star influences me, that means the stars influence everybody else, and as we know, everybody else was conceived and born under different stars. So how are they influenced to be different? Now we're starting to think. You mean to tell me that my neighbor or my girlfriend or even my kids might have completely different tendencies, attitudes, intellects, wills, desires, and DNA than me? And if that's the case, how do I use stars to foretell the future? Fun, isn't it? This is the part that's really, really fun. The most basic way to foretell the future, we have the fact that stars influence you. Fact. Um, here's another fact. Everyone is born under different stars. Fact number 2. If stars influence me differently than someone else because we were born under different stars, then, it's like programming language, if then, you can predict the future in a very, very simple way. If me and this person are discordant, not harmonic, and we get into a relationship, we're going to fight, bicker, misunderstand each other, and get frustrated and break up anyways. That's knowing the future. If me and this person have a harmonic relationship, just like a guitar, certain keys, F, G, D, A. Actually, it's not G, D, A. Anyway, forget that I assigned G, D, and A notes through my voice, because they're wrong. If strings have harmonics, then don't we? Now, obviously, again, there's going to be a lot of argument and saying, well, what's the relationship? You're just making this up. I can touch on that later. I can explain on that later. But just hold that thought for a second. Just hold the thought that that might possibly be possible. This is how you know the stars. This is how the stars foretell the future. The stars foretell the future by telling you when the entire universe is bathed, dipped, just dunked in the exact same cosmic radiations, or very, very similar, or at least harmonic cosmic radiations as the moment you were born. And the stars tell you when the universe will be dipped, bathed, covered, dripped, drizzled in cosmic radiation that's discordant to you. This is a big point. If you're not getting pimples down your back right now, you're missing the point. Let me explain to you this way. Stars impact you in the way that oak casks impact cognac, champagne, white wine. You take white wine, Germans take white wine, ice wine, and put them in stainless steel casks. Why? Because they don't want the oak to influence the taste of the ice wine. It's the environment. It's not just the grape. That's you. You're the grape in this analogy. It's the universe. That's the cask, and the entire surrounding environment. Now, the concept, you have to explore the concept of cosmic harmonics. What the fuck is that? Did he just make that up? Anyone who studies music, anyone who's an artist, anyone who's an artist knows that pink and green do not go together. You do not put pink and green. You don't wear pink shorts and a green t-shirt. You just do not do that. That's a fashion faux pas. Except you look on the pink spectrum. You look on the pink spectrum, and then you look on the green spectrum, and it's still pink. It's still pink, but there's kind of a ruddy pink. It's kind of a woody pink. It's like pink except with a drop of human blood dropped into it. It's still pink, but it's that color. You take that one color, and you look on the green spectrum, and on the green spectrum, there's neon green, there's yellow green, there's all sorts of green. But there's one green that's like a forest green. It's kind of like an evergreen, except it's a deep, woodsy forest green. You take that green and that pink, and suddenly, bam, harmonics. Ooh, boom, it's so beautiful. It's literally super, super beautiful. Where have you seen that? If you Google Hyundai department store logo, they use those exact same colors. You could never get green and pink to look good together, except that exact frequency of pink and that exact frequency of green, bam, bam. Now you got a harmonic. And it's the exact same thing with a guitar. You have frets, so it kind of sucks to be able to use as an analogy. A violin, however, a cello, however, there are no frets. So you put your finger here on one string, you put your finger here on another string, and you take the bow and you go, mm. It sounds fantastic. Now you move this one finger, literally 1 millimeter too high, 1 millimeter too low, and now 1 millimeter just in the right place, 1 millimeter to the wrong direction, harmonics. It happens in absolutely everything in the universe, and you don't think it happens in the universe? And the only things in the universe are stars. Are you starting to put pieces together in your head? This is hard to conceptualize and grasp and wrap your head around, because when's the last time you actually looked at stars? You don't. Not you. Your great-grandfather maybe. Maybe your grandfather did. But we just don't do that, so we don't think about stars. The only things that exist in this universe, we just don't think about them. So what ends up happening? So I tried this just as a theory. I wrote down the most amazing, incredible moments in my life and the most horrible moments in my life. I wrote down the dates and times and the locations of where I was. And then I went to it's a university website, some EDU website, I think, or was it an org website? Anyway, you can Google it. It's constellations by date and time. Google it. Google constellations by date and time. You'll see a website where you can actually type in date and time and location. You can even type in the location, and it'll tell you exactly what the sky, what stars were directly overhead. Doesn't matter if it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon, because it just works during the day you can't see it because the sun's too bright, but it tells you what stars are exactly overhead. And the funniest thing, the weirdest thing, 3 out of 3, the most incredible things that happened in my life, the exact same time, literally the exact same moment those things happened, the exact same stars were rising from the east, setting in the west, and the exact same star was directly overhead as the moment I was born. It's weird, it's freaky, try it yourself. Try it yourself. Now, I will tell you this. It's just like a musical scale. Just because it's not Orion every time that's on the west, or it's not Cassiopeia that's directly overhead every single time, it might be a harmonic star that's there instead. These guys, it's like music. You can strum one chord in one key, and then you can go to a totally different key and strum the exact same chord. It's like that. So it doesn't have to be the exact same stars. In my case, it was. It just happened to be. But in your case, it might just be totally different stars. But if you do a little more research, you might find that those stars are among the few, just like that pink, that's that perfect little frequency of pink that matches perfectly with this weird, perfect frequency of green. Out of the millions of different types of greens and millions of different types of pinks, this guy and this guy are a perfect match. Is what happens in the visible spectrum, is what happens in the audible spectrum, is what happens in the olfactory, smellable, material, electron. When you smell, you know what you're smelling? You're smelling electrons. it happens on the electron level. And it happens on the stellar radiation level. It just happens in the universe. So if it happens somewhere in the universe, guess what? It happens in the universe. Remember that. It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it's extremely, extremely important. Because you'll observe a phenomena in your personal life, maybe in the bathroom or a restaurant or in your car, and you'll think, oh, it only happens in my bathroom. Oh, this only happens in when I'm driving. No. If it happens at all, it happens everywhere. This universe is built on congruencies. The universe is like one huge metaphor. Planets revolve around the sun, and guess what? Electrons revolve around the nucleus. It's like that. And then you go into the electron themselves, and the electrons have other stuff revolving around it. So everything is a macroscope or a microcosm or a microcosm of something else. They're exactly the same things. It's like the universe was lazy and said, hey, it works at the atomic level. Maybe it'll work at the universal level. Hey, maybe it'll work at the galactic level. Let's try it. Let's try making a galaxy the same way we made an atom. Hey, it works at the galactic level. Let's try it on the interstellar level. It's kind of like that. I know. I'm caricaturizing this entire conversation, but it's so fun. So now, the question that pops up is, okay, how do I know which stars are discordant and which stars are harmonic for me? First of all, let me really establish this. Let me establish this. You know those people that you clash with? There are people that you absolutely clash with, and then there are people, love at first sight. Bam! You see them and it's like harmonics. They may not feel the same way about you. And what is that? Everyone who's a master craftsman at something, whether you're a master winemaker, whether you're a master guitar maker, violin maker. I've actually spoken to a couple master craftsmen. And the funny thing is, now everyone knows that wine you have to pick like a 1980 something Chateau Montbubbly something to do something of Côte de something is the best, whereas 1993 was a shit year for this exact same varietal. Everyone knows that because it's just been all over the movies and popularized. Why is that? Happens to do with atmospheric pressure, happens to do with how much rain, happens to do with how much sun, happens to do with how long moss, fungus, insects, all sorts of stuff. Which is why, was it Argentina? I think it's Argentina. They don't care about the year in Argentina because in Argentina, when you make wine, it's always the same temperature, always the same precipitation, always the same humidity all year round. Every single year, it's the same. But in France, it's not. Some years it's rainy, some years it's dry, some years it's humid, some years it's sunny, and there's like mosquitoes or bugs or fungus or moss or whatever. So that's why you argue years when it comes to wine. When it comes to guitar wood that's made the best Martin Shenandoahs, the best Stradivarius violins. They pick the best wood to make these guys. Because some wood, oh, I'm sorry. China sucks. China and their energy policy sucks. I would turn the air purifier on, but then it's loud and it just has this loud sound to it. So I figure the sound of me coughing up phlegm is less irritating than the sound of a constant drone of an air purifier. Am I wrong? I might be wrong. You have to pick the right wood, because some wood sounds damp. Some wood sounds shrill. Some wood sounds fragile, and frayed. These are the things that the actual master wood craftsman told me. Like, how does wood sound damp? He says, take a piece of wood, tap it, and you can hear the wood. It just sounds like tick, 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 tick. Now, dunk it in water and then tap it again. Thud, 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 thud. That's the sound of dampness. I listen to it, I can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference between a shitty piece of wood and a good piece of wood, but apparently he can, and so can all the master violinists and all that. But I was able to tell something really, really amazing and cool. This was at a music convention in Las Vegas, and this is I walked into this booth. It was the Martin booth, and the strangest thing, I actually thought that everyone was being recorded. I literally thought there was like hidden mics everywhere, because everyone who was in this booth, I could hear them from where they were talking, and I could hear them from somewhere else. It was the weirdest thing, with like a millisecond of a delay. It's like, hey Joe, it's good to meet you. Hey Joe, good to meet you. Hey Sally, how are your sales doing at your store? Hey Sally, how are your sales doing at your store? Literally, that's what it sounded like. What the hell is going on? Come to find out, the wood quality was so good with these Martin guitars, Martin Shenandoah, literally just all Shenandoahs, so good that every single time someone said something, that vibration would be picked up by the wood. Literally would be picked up by the wood, and the wood would vibrate in such a way that it would cause the strings to vibrate at the same harmonic frequencies. Freaky as hell, but reality, fact. I can say something, and if this wood can pick up my frequency, it resonates and hums at exactly the same frequency of my voice and says the same thing I say, with the help of the strings that happen to also vibrate at the same frequencies that my throat just vibrated. The weirdest thing. Discordant. Are they sopranos? Are they? What's the fat ladies? The fat women that go, ooh, that can shatter wine glasses. Discordant. It happens. And like I said, if it happens with a voice, it happens with light. If it happens in a music trade show in Las Vegas, it happens in the universe. If it happens in my car, it happens in the universe. If it happens in my bathroom, it happens in the universe. Everything is a metaphor for everything else. If it happens on the micro scale, it happens on the macro scale. Now that you know this happens, at this point, what you need to do is look up, I just forgot the term. There are a couple of YouTube videos where you play sound at a certain frequency on running water, and the water literally does one of these weird, the water moves at the same frequency of the sound. The water out of a hose goes, you change the frequency and the water goes woo, 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 woo. Change the frequency again, the water goes. Change the frequency again, the water goes, whoa. I'm not kidding you. But every single time you change the frequency, the water always looks like 1/2 of a DNA strand. Are you getting what I'm saying? If sound, which doesn't pass through the universe because sound requires a medium like air, like oxygen or something, or just the atmosphere, then light can do the same thing. And light does the same thing, and sound does the same thing, and humidity does the same thing, and atmospheric pressure does the same thing. To the trees that turn into Martin Shenandoahs that can exactly mimic your voice and become totally harmonic with your voice to the point where it just becomes your voice. But not someone else's. Huh? What do you mean? Yeah. Some people, the pitch in their voice, the tone of their voice, nothing happens to the Martin. Some guys actually went up to the guitar and said, hello, and the guitar didn't even vibrate. The guitar just went blup, blup. I walked up to the guitar and said, hello, and the guitar went wow, wow. Harmonic? Not harmonic. You don't think the stars do that to people the moment they're conceived and the moment they're born? Wait, that means that, since I know music, that means that if I play a note that's harmonic with another note, everything gets on beautifully and everything flows perfectly. But if I play a note that, let's say an F sharp with a B minor, or a G major with a E flat, and an A minor, things sound horrible. Things absolutely sound horrible. You don't think that same metaphor, that same micro thing happens to you in your relationships? Happens to you in the jobs that you choose? Happens to you in the clients that you accept? Happens to you in the stocks you pick? Happens to you. You see where I'm going with this now? Your future is clearly visible based on whether you interact with things that are harmonic for you or discordant for you. It's that simple. Now the question is, okay, can I use the stars to tell me which things are harmonic for me and discordant for me? Interestingly enough, there's a guy called Jinshi Wang, fascinating, Emperor Qin. I don't know the story that well. I didn't do enough research on it, so I'm just going to give you a rough brushstrokes thing on it. This is a period of time when everybody did that in China. This is a period of time when everybody tried successfully to figure out who was and was not harmonic for me and who was and was not discordant for me, which new shitcoin was harmonic and which new shitcoin was discordant for me. They did these things way back in China. And what ended up happening was, they started asking each other, hey, so when were you born, where were you born, and what time were you born? Oh, hey, we can be friends, let's do business together. And they did. Oh, what time were you born, when were you? Oh shit, you're my mortal enemy. And just on meeting, just based on the date and time and location of their birth, they would start slaughtering each other. Literally, they started killing each other. As you can imagine, society doesn't work well when things that have not even begun to unfold went this way. Certain provinces, funny enough, even went on to require, certain cities, villages, towns, even went on to require that you wear vaccine passes. Where you were born, when you were born, what time you were born. so that your exact astrological stars were knowable on first meeting, on first glance. Society doesn't function well when things like that happen. So what the Qin emperor did was he took all the scholars that taught astrology and just buried them in the sand and let the birds pick out their eyeballs. You know the story. That's actually the real story. That's actually the full story of why that massacre happened and the dark ages of China. So a lot was lost, and obviously it's kind of a stupid way to use the knowledge because, hell, even if someone's discordant for me, who is that? There, was it Trent Reznor who could take actual not harmonic notes, notes that are in totally different musical keys that are discordant, and somehow make some badass music? You can do it. It just is a lot harder. And so you don't kill the note. You don't kill the person that happens to be in that note. But that's what they did back then. So that's my long way of telling you and giving you the big picture perspective that, yeah, humans have actually done this before, and it hasn't worked out well in the past. So how do you do it? I promise I won't kill someone just because they have a discordant sign than I do. If you meet someone that has a discordant sign than you do, all you have to do, and you want to interact with them, for some reason they have, I don't know, they have a whitelist for a new cryptocurrency that you want to get on, except they're not directly harmonious to you. All you have to do is find someone that's complementary to them, that's complementary to you as an intermediary person, and just get this person to get your name on the whitelist. Simple, isn't it? But I'm still dancing around the question, how do I use the stars to tell whether, before I even answer that question, still dancing, I want to establish and make it really clear in your mind that the stars have a massive impact on your life in the same way that the weather has a massive impact on the wood used in Martin Shenandoah's, the rain, precipitation, humidity on the finest German ice vine or Bordeaux's, and anything else in life influences everything else in life. And I want to describe to you how that works from a human star relationship or animal star relationship. Sometimes even pets don't work well with you. Sometimes you get a pet that's just fantastically aligned with you. Why? What's the difference? Here it is. And remember, there are harmonics. It doesn't have to be the same exact star in the middle of the sky the moment you're born. It could be a star that's harmonic to that star. I'm giving you hints now. So let's go directly into that. How do I know that the stars impact me and so on? At all. How do I know that the stars that were in existence the moment I was conceived impacted who I am, what I want, what I think, my temperament, my personality, even my luck. Some people are born lucky. What that means is they are born with a harmonic that matches the harmonic of the financial world that they're born into. Some people are born lovers. That means that their harmonic is their harmonic matches the harmonic of love and romance. So what if I wasn't born with luck and this, that, and that? That's another question. That's a bigger question. different stars and different locations. Remember, I told you that if you want to get on the shitcoin whitelist, but you clash with the guy that's the whitelist moderator or the admin, you just put someone in between. That's how you do it as a go-between. But that's all I'm going to say for now on that topic, because I still have to go drive home the fact that the stars impacted who you are and why you are the way you are right now, the way you are, and how that is the case. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? You think, well, that's a quandary that no one can solve. No. Geneticists, to a geneticist, that's an obvious answer. Which came first, the grapefruit or the pomelo? Pomelo, I think it is. Same exact question. Which came first, the lemon or the citron? Same exact question. You know, maybe I should show this to you. Hold on, I'm going to show this to you.